Hey everyone, Dominic here with the Ravening Hordes Game Club in Saskatoon. Today we got another 9th Age report for you guys. Today it's going to be Vampire Covenant versus the Beast Herds. We played 5,000 points. The scenario was Frontline Crash with Capture the Flag secondary. Let's get right into it. So here's a look at the table. For terrain, it's pretty light. We had a piece of impassable, a hill, forest, and another hill. Rolled off for sides. The Vampire Covenant took this side, and Beast Herds let the Vampire Covenant deploy unit first. So here's a quick look at the spells here for myself. I had a Wizard Master of Evocation and an Adept of Occultism, as well as the bound Pentagram of Pain on the Altar of Undeath this game. For the Beast Herds deployment, they put down a unit of Centaurs over here. They were drunk to start, and then he's got, starting off here I guess, we've got the Wild Horns, Longhorns with a BSB in there. He's got a Gortok. He's got a big unit of Minotaurs with behind that, he's got his General who is a Minotaur Lord. Another unit of Wild Horns right beside that, and then another unit of Centaurs who are also drunk to start. Here's a quick look at his spells and totems. If you want to take a look at that, you can pause it. And then into the Vampire deployment. So on my left flank here, I've got a unit of Barrow Knights. In that unit is my Brotherhood of the Dragon Vampire Count. He's the army's general. Altar of Undeath, unit of Barrow Guard with halberds, unit of zombies. Beside that, there's the unit of skeletons with sword and board, as well as my Wizard Master Necromancer, and a Barrow King BSB in the unit as well. And then we got a unit of Ghouls over here, and on the far right flank, we've got 4 Vampire Knights with the Brotherhood upgrade, and they've got a musician. The Beast Herds elected to take turn 1. So into Beast Herds turn 1, here we go. So there's a little bit of moving up. That little mat, I guess, too, in the center there, that's the forest that he brought. It kind of moves up quite a bit in the center there for most of the units. The Centaurs on the left flank get out of the arc of the Barrow Knights over here. And yeah, like I said, everything else just kind of pushes up in the center. And that's pretty much it for movement. We go right into the magic phase here. He got... tried to do a little bit here. He got the 6 and the 5. He tried to do Haste in the Hour on these Vampire Knights, and he fizzled. And then he tried to do Touch of the Reaper on them as well, and I went ahead and dispelled that one. And then he cast the Blackwing Totem on the Centaurs, and he tried to cast Spectral Blades, but that one failed. That's pretty much it for Beast Herds turn 1. So into Vampire Covenant turn 1. There was no charges. I just moved up the center pretty aggressively. I wasn't too worried about those Centaurs. If they want to charge the flank there with my Vampire on the corner, they can go right ahead. Blocked the flank though of the Barrow Guard, and everything else just kind of move up towards the center there, and the Vampire Knights over here actually move back a bit. Into the magic phase, we tried to do Haste in the Hour, and I believe, I got the Haste in the Hour, killed out a unit champion. I did Ancestral Aid on these guys, but he dispelled it on the Ghouls there. And the other spell I tried to cast was Breath of Corruption on my Vampire and caused the sacrifice to the zombies, and he went and dispelled that one as well. And that's it for VC turn 1. So that's what the table's looking like going into Beast Herds turn 2. These guys declared a charge against the Vampire Knights. And I think that was about it for charges. These guys did fail. His ambushers came on back behind my lines here. His Gortok and those Minotaurs moved up pretty hard to go threaten those Ghouls. He elected not to charge and just kind of went wanted to try and march, but failed the test. Continued to move up a little bit. Didn't want to get too close to be charged by that Altar of Undeath either. Into the magic phase, he got the 6 and the 7. He cast Whispers of the Veil on the Ghouls, and I believe that one went off. He cast the Blackwing Totem on the Minotaurs, and I dispelled that. And then he did the Blackwing Totem on the Minotaurs again from his other unit. I believe that was from the BSB, and I dispelled that. And then he tried to do Spectral Blades on the Minotaurs, and I believe he actually got that one off. So then we're going into Vampire Covenant turn 2. Here's a quick look at the board. So these Vampire Knights declare a charge against Centaurs. I think that was my distance I needed to go there. The Ghouls go into the Minotaurs. They make it, and the Knights make it as well. Over here, I decided to move those Barrow Knights just out of the way there and put my general kind of up front and center, and I'm not too worried if he wants to try and bring those Centaurs in. Everything else just kind of repositioned to face the Gortok, those 2 core units, and the Altar of Undeath backed up to try and do some damage to that unit of ambushers that came on as well. The Barrow Guard just held in the center. So here's that there. And into the magic phase. So we went and put Spectral Blades on the Ghouls, and he tried to stop it, but it still went through. I did Breath of Corruption, and you see there I rolled boxcars, so he let that one go. I did do the sacrifice to the zombies again, so it's going to be an 18-inch range breath weapon. And then I did Ancestral Aid on those Ghouls, and that one went off as well. We go into the shooting. I cause 4 wounds with the Breath of Corruption to the Centaurs over here. Leaving just the one. Unit Champion all by himself. And I forget what this was here for. Oh, yeah, we went to the combat right after that. This is actually the roll there for the Vampire Knights on the charge. So what I thought was going to be a pretty easy route is not looking so good. I only did 3 wounds to him. He did 2 wounds back, and we just sit there and stare at each other, which was rather unfortunate. Over here was an absolute disaster. I wasn't sure quite going into that one if it was actually a good idea or not, but I figured why not, especially with the 2 spells that I had on myself. I figured I'd do some damage. I only did 3 wounds with all of that though, and it wasn't even a matter of him making saves. It was just I rolled very terribly, even with rerolls, to hit and to wound. So in response, he killed 22 Ghouls, and I crumbled down to just 3 guys. So and this is what the table's looking like going into Beast Herds turn 3. So over here, these Longhorns or Wild Horns, I guess, are coming into the front of the Knights. The Gortak is coming into the Skeletons here, as well as these guys wanted to declare a charge as well. I think that was it for the charges. So just taking a higher look at this, because we had a little bit of issue there. So in order for both these units to pass, the way it was, these guys would have actually had to go in first, kind of go up and around, and then the Gortok would have had to wheel and come into the opposite corner. But he wanted to get that Gortok in on the other side so that he could direct attacks against my characters. So decided to kind of go back and just declare the charge with the Gortok, not knowing that, you can't make both charges, or couldn't make both charges the way he wanted to make both charges. So yeah, so that charge makes it in. He's sitting there looking at both my caster and my BSB. I think we go into some more moving here. Moves up that Centaur up there. And then just another quick pick. I think I took quite a few pictures of the battlefield at this point. Magic phase. He got 5 out of 5. He did the Blackwing totem on these Minotaurs. I dispelled the first time, and they did it again, and I just let it go through. He did Whispers of the Veils on my Knights, and it failed to cast. And then he did Spectral Blades on the Wildhorns. And that went off. I think, sorry, on the Minotaurs here. He did it on the Minotaurs, I believe. So we go into combat. Over here, I finish off the Centaurs. He didn't do any wounds to me back, I believe. And he sticks. Actually, I think it was a complete draw with the ranks and the charge and the stick and all that factored in. It was a complete draw here, so we just reformed to maximize. Just like so. Over here, the Minotaurs finished off those 3 Ghouls, no problem. They had the Blackwing totem on them, so they got to go first as well. Into this one here, he actually rolls really terribly. He kind of whiffs a little bit. He does 2 wounds to my Barrow King, and I, in return, put 3 wounds on him. I did some wounds to the skeletons with stomps and impact hits, but he was down by combat res and passed his stubborn check. And sticks right there. So this is kind of what the table's looking like heading into Vampire Covenant turn 3. So I decided to bring these zombies into the flank here, try and force some dice to get those last wounds on this Gortok. I brought the Vampire Count. He was kind of sitting in the center there in front of that Centaur. He decided to go up and just chill out over here. Then we went right into the magic phase there, pretty much. I guess the other thing is these Barrow Knights turned around to face the center again. Everything else just kind of held its position. So magic phase. We got the Dead Arise. We tried to bring back wounds. He dispelled all 3 attempts that I tried to make. I had one from the General, one from the Necromancer, and then the Bound spell as well. I tried to do a Dead Arise over here and stop that one. And then I got Breath of Corruption off on my General again here. Yeah, in the shooting there, I did shoot it at... I caused wounds to my Barrow Guard and did the 18-inch range, shot at the Minotaurs, picked off a couple wounds there. Nothing too major. The Altar of Undeath did its pulse and picked off a couple wounds, but nothing major again. And then, yeah, right into the combat phase. Over here, the Gortak opened up. He killed the Barrow King, and I only managed to do a single wound back to him. I did have enough combat res still that he had to test. He passed his test again. But we're sitting there, and I wasn't quite enjoying that position anymore because now my Necromancer's easy meat for the Beast Herds next turn. So, speaking of which, Beast Herds turn 4. So here's the table going into turn 4. Some of the charges he declared here. He had the Centaur down at the bottom here, went into the flank of the Vampire Count, and those Minotaurs came into the front. These guys turned to face. Both those guys made their charges. And everything else just kind of... I think he was shimmying sideways here with those 2 block units. And just keeping his Doom Lord, Minotaur Lord, I guess, hanging out in range for leadership in the crown there for everybody. So, in the magic phase, he's got 7 and the 7. He went ahead and cast the Blooded Horn Totem on the Minotaurs, and that went off. He also did the Spectral Blades on the Minotaurs, I believe, and that one failed. And then he tried to do Whispers of the Veil on the Knights, and I dispelled that one. And I think he tried to cast another totem here, and I stopped that one as well. We go into combat. He pops his banner. I do a couple wounds to him. He didn't... I think he might have done 1 wound to me, maybe. maybe not even. But through combat res, I crumbled down to one guy. Over here, the vampire count just opens up a can of whoop ass. Kills the centaur, puts 8 wounds, I think he did, on the minotaurs, and they swung back. And I think they caused like 2 wounds, and I saved both of them for a Aegis. So he broke. I elected to restrain. I restrained, and he runs a measly 4 inches. Yeah. Oh, there it is. It was 3 saves, 3 wounds that he caused to me, and I saved all of them. I think that was just armor saves alone. And so, and there's that flea, and I just stuck and faced the other way. As you can notice, beside those skeletons, I think I forgot to mention those. The spearmen did come into the skeletons. I finished off the Gortok. The Gortok finished the wizard before he died. And then I won combat, and he stuck. So that's kind of what the board is looking like. Oh, I guess in the Vampire Knight combat, I think he killed off that last Vampire Knight in his turn 4. Yes, that's what happened there. So this is what the board looks like going into Vampire Covenant turn 4. So here we go. The Barrow Guard and the Barrow Knights both declare a charge against the wild horns that are hidden under his arm right there. Over here, my general declares a charge against the Minotaur Doomlord. Those zombies declare a charge against the flank of the spears, and the Altar of Undeath declares a charge against those fleeing Minotaurs and makes them flee a little bit further. The Barrow Guard failed the charge. Barrow Knights made it. The Count makes it. The zombies easily make it. And the Altar of Undeath failed that charge as well. We go into magic phase. So what do we do here? I didn't really have much. I tried to do Dead Arise. He dispels it. And I cast... I would have cast the Breath Corruption on myself as well, just in case. So... yeah, and that was it for magic. We go into shooting. The Altar of Undeath, I think, picked off a couple wounds off the spears as well as the Minotaurs. And then we go into combat phase. Over here was about the biggest letdown of the entire game. I charged in, strength 7, 5 attacks. He's got Crimson Rage and the Blessed Inscriptions. I caused 5 wounds to begin with, and he made 4 saves out of those 5. So I rolled my secondary attack there, only singular, and he saved that one as well. So out of a possible 10 wounds that this guy could do charging in, I did 1. I thought I was going to go through this guy like butter. Because of that went so bad, I'll pop the Breath Corruption as well at the same time. Didn't do anything for wounds. Horse didn't do anything. He puts a wound back on me. He's still down by 1 for the charge, but he passes his check, and I don't get a vampiric roll either. Over here, we won combat. He failed his steadfast check on a 7 twice. Runs away. Didn't catch him though. And this is kind of what... in the zombie skeleton fight there, we won combat. The zombies decided to charge or pursue him off the board. The skeletons were trying to hold, and they didn't. So both those guys are facing the wrong way now. And then we're going into Beast Herds turn 5. So Beast Herds turn 5, the Longhorns in the center declare a charge against my Barrow Guard. They fail that charge. The Minotaur keeps fleeing, and the Longhorns, or Wild Horns up that were just in front of these Barrow Knights over here, they rally, turn face, and then the other Wild Horn unit that's over here actually moved up to sit inside this forest. Into magic, he casts Spectral Blades on the Minotaur Lord, and we went right into combat. And as you can see, I didn't do a single wound to him. Again, he saves all the damage and does 2 wounds to me, and I'm just done. So yeah, a fight that I thought I had handily went south pretty fast. And that, of course, caused some crumble checks. There was some zombies that died, as well as some skeletons that died, but everything else stayed with nothing to happen. And that's kind of what things are looking like going into VC turn 5. So for Vampire Covenant turn 5, everything I have just decides to declare a charge. So the Barrow Guard are going into those Longhorns. The Altar of Undeath is going into his Minotaur Lord. And then the Barrow Knights are going into the Wild Horns that are right in front of them that rallied last turn. Everything makes it in, and magic, nothing happens. In the shooting phase, the Altar of Undeath knocks off a couple wounds off of those 2 block units, puts a wound on the Minotaur Lord, and crushes that last remaining Minotaur champion that's fleeing. Both the skeletons and the zombie blocks move up. They get back on, turn around. They're not going to do anything for the rest of the game, especially with a couple crumble checks. We went into combat. The one with the Barrow Knights here. I did win again. He fails his stubborn check, or his steadfast check, and we pursue him off the board. In the Altar of Undeath, as you can already tell, I didn't do any wounds to him. He still got lethal strike. He managed 3 lethal strikes. So there went my fortitude saves, and I crumble the rest of the way. In that, another disappointing fight, in that center fight there, I go in, I directed attacks against his BSB, and the rest of the attacks went against the unit there. So I was going first at strength 5, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s. There was 32 in that unit to start. I did 3 wounds to the unit, and I only did 1 wound. Well, I did 2 wounds to the BSB. He saved 1 of them, so it multiplied into 2. But still, charging in and only doing 5 wounds, it hurt. So he swung back, did a bunch of damage, crumbles me down to what you see there, and we're heading into Beast Herds turn 6. So Beast Herds turn 6. He brings that Minotaur Lord into the flank of those Barrow Guard just to clean him up. Cast Spectral Blades again, and Whispers of the Veil on the Barrow Guard. Heads into combat. He finished the Barrow Guard pretty handily. I didn't manage to kill his BSB, I don't think. Crumbled out too many wounds before, and I only had 2 attacks that I could direct against him, so... yeah, that's pretty much the end of the game there. We went to Vampire turn 6, and I took a few wounds. I think those pictures are at the end of my wound taking already. And yeah, that's kind of what the table was looking like at the end of the game there. So, I did up the points at the end. There was a 43% difference in points for the Beast Herds. So he took a... would that be a 15-5 victory? I did manage to capture the secondary objective, though. So with that part there was a bit of a swing. Again, with our league, we award extra victory points for playing every 500 points above 4,500. So it gave us each another victory point in the end. For a final score, I believe that would be... I think it was a 13-9 for the Beast Herds. So another really fun game. A little bit disappointed that the vampire account with all of those killy gears just managed to whiff and not break through. Probably would have been pretty different there if he did, but that's dice for you. So hope you guys enjoyed the battle and stay tuned for the next one.